With us at Skyview Sports, we have Ian Ziska. You are the head pro at American Dunes Golf Course, also known as Michigan's eighth wonder of the world. Everything must be rosy over there where you're at.
Days are, it's not work when you come here every day, that's for sure. It's a beautiful place, and we're blessed to be here, for sure.
Yeah. And, taking a look, we promised to kind of keep our content as kind of a preview for what's going to happen for the Folds of Honor collegiate tournament. We're definitely going to try to talk to you a little bit later on this summer and talk more about American Dunes specifically. But taking a look, the tournament's about just a couple of months out, about just under 60 days. And Casey Lubahn, when he first approached you and approached the management staff at the course, I'm sure you guys were all in.
Yeah, I think, the history of kind of how this event came to fruition is, my background has been pretty active with player development, high school golf, college golf at my past position at Ferris State University. So when I came here, Casey and I just kind of started shooting it back and forth a little bit about an idea of a college event, which he had visions of, I had visions of, and collectively kind of came together to create something. And then fast forward, Lieutenant Colonel Rooney got involved with it, and Casey traveled down to Oklahoma to talk to him about what's possible. And anytime we get Lieutenant Colonel Rooney involved in something he's passionate about,
Mm-hmm.
I say, he sprinkles the jet engine or jet fuel on it, and all of a sudden, poof, here we are. It grew into this extreme college event that's one of the, I believe it's the number one viewed college event in the country. We've got a great field, both men and women now. So from that kind of infant conversation that Casey and I had about how can we do something cool with Michigan State, it kind of exploded into what it is now.
And with Lieutenant Rooney, you said he exploded it like jet fuel. So you probably had Casey had B, and all of a sudden the rest of the alphabet popped up with Colonel Rooney, right?
Yeah, I think the outcome of what we produce now is exactly what Casey envisioned, and it's what I envisioned.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get some powerful people behind it that want to expand on what the idea is, and I think that's exactly what happened. And we've got some great corporate groups that are supporting the event. In all of it, in to come together, bring a great group together, have a wonderful competition, but most importantly, we get a lot of exposure and the right support to Folds of Honor, and that's the best part about it. I think it leads into beyond a college event for the tournament players. There's definitely a life component in there as we engage with or kind of blend the Folds of Honor experience and that support with the college event itself.
So, what are some of the things that some of the coaches and the players have kind of said to you, Casey, and others about preparing for the event or after they experience it and just go, that was life changing, just like you said, Ian?
Yeah, I think when you look back at some of the footage of the players and just how they, visit us and how they experience the tournament, I think it's just a little bit different than anything they've played in their lives. I think one, with confidence, I can say we run a very nice event. It's very professionally delivered to the players and the coaches, so they get a high quality college tournament, which we strive really hard to make one of the best collegiate events in the country. And then you add in the other elements of that experience that we provide on a daily basis here at American Dunes, which ties into supporting our military, our veterans, our first responders, and their families on a daily basis. You just get that element incorporated with the tournament. It hits them all differently. They all have family and friends perhaps who have served in some capacity. So when they come here and they see what we do, and feel what American Dunes is, it's different. I get chills now saying that because I've seen some of the kids and just, their guard comes down a little bit. Their focus maybe shifts away from playing and more about, holy cow, like this matters where I'm standing right now. People have died for me to have this freedom and play at this tournament. And those elements kind of hit them, a little bit differently.
And then you have Jack Nicklaus. Mr. Nicklaus is involved. He's at the tournament every year. I've talked to him several times. I got a funny, real quick story for you. I asked Jack when he was at Warwick Hills, because he goes to the Ally Challenge almost every year. And I says, is American Dunes, is that your masterpiece? And he says, wait a second. He says, all my courses are my children.
Yeah.
So I know he has a real reverence. And do you have a Jack story, or how is he involved beyond being there for the day and giving his time?
It's wonderful. His involvement is off the charts positive for, you know, the kids that know the history of the game. Jack's older now, so some of them don't know as much as they should probably about Jack,
Right.
and his 18 professional wins and his 2 amateur wins, that are highlighted here at the golf club. So, every hole out there features one of Jack's majors in sequence, 1 through 18. And then there's 2 monuments that highlight his 2 amateur wins. So the kids get to see that and read about Jack a little bit. I will say this: one visit he came, I don't think it was last year, I think it was the year before. He comes in early, he hangs out with us a little bit, he tours the golf course and kind of sees what's going on, making sure we're up to par with his expectations of what the quality of the golf course is. And he traveled around and he was sitting in Cavu, and I went up to him and I said, how was your ride? What did you think? And he and I sat there and he went hole by hole through the whole golf course. And I think amongst us standing there, somebody overshot a comment over my shoulder, says, "What's the signature hole on the golf course, Jack?" And he's like, "Well, they're all signature holes. And if one's not, I got to fix it." And that's kind of his
Yeah.
philosophy. To your point about all of his golf courses are his babies, I think he looks at it that way. And not only is the golf property one of his most important assets, it's each hole on the golf property has to be awesome. And if one's not, he's going to fix it. So that was a cool conversation with him in the squadron bar, just kind of shooting the breeze and listening to his logic behind things.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to be credentialed for at Muirfield Village, and he's still tinkering on that course. 18, he tinkers a little bit. He can't let just and nothing slides with Jack, and he
No,
pays attention to detail. He might be 85 this year, but he's really 25. How he's
yeah,
thinking, he is not slipped at all. Not up here, not in the noggin.
nope,
That's for sure.
nope, he is not.
Yeah. Now, one of the things, the women, they're now going to play this year at the tournament. This is really exciting because we haven't even talked about this yet, but you got the men, you got the women, you got the Golf Channel, and you alluded to earlier that this is the #1 televised collegiate tournament in the country. And this thing all started from scratch baked cookies, everybody, just a few years ago on a cocktail napkin, and has turned into a juggernaut. And I bet I'm turning this from a question to a rambling statement, but it just seems like are you getting any calls on teams that want to participate, or is that all getting funneled to Casey? And then I'll get back to my original premise.
Yeah, so there's definitely a collaborative effort that the tournament comes into play. So, our role as American Dunes as tournament hosts, we support the tournament directors. The folks that run the Ally actually run our college event. So they're here to oversee kind of direct traffic in a lot of different ways. So as far as the teams who are invited to come in now, that's a little bit of Casey doing. A little bit of Trey at Florida State, and as well as the Golf Coaches Association. So they're kind of the ones that do the recruiting of teams on an annual basis, because those schedules are really difficult to manage sometimes, because teams are booking events 2 years out already. There's a lot of teams that we're not going to have this year just based on the fact their schedules are already done when the invites for this year came out. So that's just a little bit of a battle, but those guys manage it well, where we have a quality field. And get a good group together, and including the ladies that came in last year. We're excited to have them come back this year. So some of the teams are here with both men and women, and others it's a different group. So I know Michigan State's have both the men and women here. Same with Florida State, but there's several others that differ. The women's field this year is one of the highest quality fields that you'll see in college golf this season coming up. So we're really excited to host the ladies this year again.
Yeah, is Florida State women coming up this year?
Yeah.
And the reason I ask that is obviously Lottie Woe just won the Irish Open against a
For
very
everyone
strong field
involved,
of
this tournament is
LPGA
about more
players,
than
and
just
so
golf.
it's going to be exciting. And of course, the men and they
There's
get
just not a lot
an
of golf.
exemption for the medalist
Obviously, great
honor,
field,
and I
great tournament.
imagine the women will
Actors and
probably
whatnot,
have
so excited to
something on
compete.
their side of
August
the draw
Meekhoff is a
themselves.
Coopersville native and
Yeah,
a
But
senior at
we're working
Michigan
on
State.
that, but
He's
hadn't come
honoring
there.
his
But the
great
Rocket
grandfather who
is
served in
going
the.
to give an exemption to the winner for the men's side. We're hoping, like heck, we can get Meyer to jump on board with us, and perhaps they can invite one of the ladies over. So we're still working on that. I think some good will come from that down the road.
yeah, I don't think you're going to have any problems with that because one of the things is, more as much as I do, and if not more, is that the Rocket Classic, the Dow, I call it the doubles tournament, it's not, but the Dow Invitational, and also the LPGA Meyer Simply Care tournament, they definitely like to have the college kids come up, the up and comers, and to join the field because they do learn quite a bit. Let's ask, just kind of roll into this. The Golf Channel is involved. I mean, holy smokes, you guys have got the big leagues of golf broadcasting, and people, you got to come out and check out American Dunes. But if you can't, or you want to go back and rewatch, that's where the Golf Channel comes in.
Yeah, and they're a tremendous group of people. Um, the first year they were here to televise, they did it remotely, and it was wonderful. They did a great job. Billy Ray was on site, and the other guys were off site doing the commentary. And then last year, with how 23 was so good, they were like 24. We got to be on site. So John Cook's here. Um, Trip Eisenhower's here. Those guys are on site. John came up early just to see the golf course in person before the broadcast in 23, and he just like raved about the golf course. He's a big fan of Jack, obviously being from Ohio State.
Oh yeah.
So he cruised around the golf course and just was like, this is a wonderful place. So the commentary, we're so grateful for the positive commentary that they provide. The video coverage is off the charts. The cool thing now is they do most of it with drone work instead of towers, so they can get different looks a lot of places, and it's much easier for them. So the coverage is wonderful. The commentary is positive, and then on top of that, you've got really high quality golf being played. So it all is a great recipe for a great week on television.
And so with that, the Golf Channel will be there with drones and all that this year, and in whatever else, I'm sure they'll have a few cameras on site as well. I mean, I wouldn't want to conduct it. I do fly drones, but I wouldn't want to conduct an interview with a drone.
No,
But
no, no.
maybe
Those
they
are only
can.
for the
I don't know.
aerials. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the aerial shots are more drone work versus the towers, but they've got cameramen all over the place. They bring in a team that consumes our parking area. They're wonderful. They treat the golf course with respect, which is very important for us, and they're in here to televise a high quality event, and thankfully it shows nicely on television.
All right. Final question. If I don't know if you've mapped out any kind of long-term plans, you and Casey and anybody else, Mr. Nicklaus, Dan Rooney, and that I mean, already in a couple of years, you've already got the Golf Channel. We talked about that. We have the women. You've got people showing up. The players are really getting into this. Is there anything, any surprises you, or any long-term plan 2 or 3 years from now, or is that stuff you'll unwrap or unpack as it gets closer to those years?
I'm sure the tournament's going to evolve. Every year we try and do something better. We sharpen the sword every season after we analyze what took place. I think the most important thing for us is to put on a high quality competition. It's complimentary for patrons to come watch, so that school supporters, the kids supporters, can come out and enjoy it without worrying about tickets or anything like that, which is real important to us. It highlights, like I said, the good quality competition, but most importantly, the exposure and the awareness that we bring over that few days on television to Folds of Honor, highlighting some incredible corporate supporters that support Folds. Those are the things that we want to maintain. And if we can sprinkle a couple things here and there in to freshen it up every year, we're definitely going to do that.
All right. With me, Ian Ziska, head golf pro, American Dunes Golf Course. We have the Folds of Honor Collegiate Tournament happening. I think it's, what is it, September 8th? Give me
8th
the
through the
exact
10th.
8th through the
Yeah,
10th.
8th through the 10th.
And of course, what is if you want to find out all things Folds of Honor Collegiate, can you give us a website there,
Yeah,
address?
so you can go to foldsofhonor.org and click on events and find it that way. You can go to americandunesgolfclub.com and find the link that'll take you right to the page. The other thing is volunteers are welcome. And those two areas, you can go to the page and select the volunteer request to help us, and they'll connect with you and figure out ways that you can come enjoy and work a little bit while you're hanging out with us.
All right, Ian Ziska, Folds of Honor Tournament. You're the head golf pro at American Dunes. Thank you, Ian.
Thanks for having me.
You got it.